Hello and welcome to Dialogue of Civilizations. All of the three Abrahamic religions are inextricably interconnected, with inescapable intersections between them, making some believe that they are, in fact, parts of the self-same. Multi-faith Neighbors Network, based in the United States, expounds the view that faith communities, whilst remaining true to the unique theological tenets of their respective religions, can cooperate, form strong bonds, and be collectively resilient to discord. Whilst placing special emphasis on pastors, imams, and rabbis as role models for their communities, the network promotes strong interfaith relations at a grassroots level. And today I'm honored to welcome a very distinguished guest, Dr. Bob Roberts, the co-founder of the Multi-Faith Neighbors Network and also president of the Institute for Global Engagement. Welcome, Dr. Roberts. Thank you very much indeed for this opportunity.
Thank you. It is an honor to be with you, and I'm excited about your new program, and I congratulate you, and I wish you great success.
Thank you very much indeed. First of all, my first question is going to be very basic. To what extent do you agree with the description I provided earlier? And perhaps you could tell us about the reasons bringing you to Azerbaijan as well.
Sure. It's accurate. I'm an evangelical from the United States of America. We have the most negative view of Muslims and Jews. And so my goal as an evangelical was to challenge my own tribe, because I can do that. And in other parts of the world, Magid has more of an impact with the Muslims and David with the Jews. And so we use our relationships in order to bring that harmony. The reason I'm here is candidly because of your ambassador, Ambassador Ibrahim, Kazar Ibrahim. And I came to know him a year or so ago, and I've just enjoyed visiting with him, and he told me about your country and wanted me to visit, and so I came, and I have thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Thank you very much indeed. Bearing in mind what Multi-Faith Neighbors Network is doing in the United States and across the globe, my following question is that what is the key commonality uniting all of the three Abrahamic religions? Or rather, I should rephrase my question and ask this one. What are the key tenets that transcend all of those three religions?
Let me give you two things. First, it's the story. We all accept the Hebrew Scriptures, what we Christians call the Old Testament, as the story. We each have different interpretations of that and so forth. We all believe that Jesus existed. We just have different views about what he did. And so I would say our stories are related. They're intertwined. Now, we tell them a little differently, and there are some different points on those stories we would disagree, but we share a common narrative. Here's the second thing. It's the values. None of us would disagree with the 10 Commandments. Now, we may not understand the 600 plus laws of Judaism, but those 10 Commandments are a big deal. So we share the same sense of moral right and moral wrong. And I would also say, in addition to that, there's certain values like mercy and love and empathy and things that we also share. So we have profound differences in what we believe about, for example, who Jesus is. At the same time, we believe that the values that we do share and the common story that we share provides a basis for respect for one another and human dignity, to say, at the end of the day, even though we disagree, you're my human brother and sister, and there ought to be enough that we agree on, that we respect one another, and we are a blessing to one another, not a headache to one another.
And during the process of the creation of Multi-Faith Neighbors Network, what were the challenges that you faced? Because I imagine there must have been some element of backlash from respective communities.
Oh, there was a lot of challenge. For example, if I had a plan how to convert more Muslims and Jews, I would have gotten a lot of money. But it wasn't. It was, I want to build bridges with Muslims and Jews. And so when we began to do that, some people thought, well, they're not our religion. Why do we need to be engaged with them other than to convert them? And my response was, they're created in the image of God. They're human beings. Each person deserves human dignity. And the tension that we have between the religions is unhealthy. It's a bad statement about our faith. It's a bad poison to us in our hearts that we could despise someone or not like them or hate them when Jesus said, love even your enemies. And so it was bad for the other. and it was bad for us. So when we began to do it, to be candid with you, it was very challenging for me, for Magid especially. He had people from the mosque who said, those are those evangelicals. Why do you want to work with them? They only want to convert you. And then from the evangelicals, as you know, we've been in wars in the Middle East. These are Muslims. We fought them. And I said, you've not fought Muslims. You've dealt with nation state issues, but don't confuse it. And so we did this event at our church. We expected a couple of hundred Muslims to come. We invited a couple of hundred Christians. And in Texas, we have this very famous barbecue. But Muslims can't eat it because it's pork, it's not halal. So we ordered 2,000 ribs that were beef and they were halal. And we barbecued them in Texas, and we invited, we expected there to be a total of 500 people there. Over 2,000 Muslims showed up. It was profound. It was standing room only. Well, after that, our church loved it. But some in our church got nervous, and they thought, why are we having a celebration with Muslims? Why are we meeting with them? Why are we even trying to get to know them? So literally, we lost hundreds of people from our church. And Magid faced some of the same criticism, and so did David. Yes. But you have to do the right things. A lot of times as clerics, we want to keep growing our churches, our mosques, our synagogues. Sometimes we have to challenge and be prophetic to those within our own tribe. And so, yes, it's challenges, but it was the right thing to do, and I don't regret it.
Well, you have to do the right thing, whatever the cost may be. What struck me when I listened to your interview, I think it was about your relationship with Imam Muhammad Magid. You said that when you listened to him, you felt that for him, God was not a theological construct, but a personal entity. Pray elaborate on this point.
We see people outside of our faith, especially those of us that are more conservative, and we feel like this is the way that people should follow. And we see people outside our faith, and we think that there are those that are in and those that are out. That was always my view. Here's what I discovered. As a Christian, we believe everyone was created in the image of God. He's the Father of all humanity. And so why am I going to disparage somebody that doesn't agree with me theologically? God will make those determinations, not me. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to compromise on what I believe about Jesus. But when I saw that, I would see Magid pray. He was very sincere in his prayer. I'd watch him care for people and how he spoke. And I could tell he was sincere about his faith. I'll tell you an interesting story about this. My father is 90, very conservative. I grew up in a very small village in America, and there were no other religions. And my dad has always been confused. Why are you friends with all these Muslims, Bob? I mean, they're not becoming Christians. Why do you spend your time? Why do you do this? And I tried to explain it to him. It's rather difficult. But he Magid wanted to meet my dad. And I thought, I don't know if I need to do that or not. But he was adamant. So I called my dad and I said, we're going to drive over and we're going to meet you. He said, that's okay. Just don't stay too long. And so we went to see him, and he was moved by Magid. Magid goes in and quoted a Bible verse, and my dad liked it. He complimented me. Bottom line, instead of 5 minutes, it wound up taking 20 minutes. He loved Magid. He called me on my car phone on the way back. He didn't realize Magid could hear, and Magid's response was, or my father's response was, Bob, that man is special. He has some kind of relationship with God. I think the reason we don't see how God works in other people's lives, we don't know them. And when you come to know someone, you see them in a different light than just a category of person.
Although I suppose, although we're discussing the activities of Multi-Faith Neighbours Network and all of these religious issues, we can't leave some of the issues related to the relationship between politics and religion unattended, in particular bearing in mind this current pivotal juncture. What is the role played by religion in the process of political deliberation, in particular in the context of the US election campaign, some of the issues related to the sanctity of human life, and also perhaps we could elaborate on foreign policy realm as well?
I would say Christians, Muslims, Jews, whatever your religion is, you ought to be speaking to the issues that are moral in nature and religious in nature that have an impact on the adherence of your faith in that particular country. In America, we've had two things I think that have been very important. One is freedom of speech. So as a person of faith, you possess that freedom of speech to speak out. This is what we believe. This is what we think it's important. These are our concerns. There's also another equally important thing that we don't like to talk about as much today as we used to, but it's called separation of church and state. And that doesn't mean that as a person of faith, you can't be involved in politics or the moral conversations that are there. But it does mean that you need to respect the right of others to speak and not have a state-endorsed religion. So I do get nervous when, particularly like in my context, pastors want to endorse political candidates or become pundits for those political candidates. I think that's really problematic. So I think I should speak out with reference to abortion. But I don't think I should say to Christians, y'all all join this party because they promote this or that, because what you do when you do that, you politicize yourself, you politicize your faith. I want to be a faith leader that has something to say to Democrats, Republicans, independents, not just one particular group. And I think in the last 30 or 40 years, it's been politicized too much.
And since you're in Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijan prides itself as a secular, multi-confessional, multi-religious, multicultural country, what is your reflection about Azerbaijan? You've been to Shisha, I believe, and as you know, that we're at a pivotal juncture. The conflict with Armenia effectively over, and peace agreement perhaps in the offing, some people say. Please share your reflections with us on that.
I'm impressed with Azerbaijan. I'm impressed with the clerics. I'm impressed with the leaders. I mean, the sectors of this society are incredibly developed, in a prosperous nation. I've never been here, didn't know much about Azerbaijan, and it's been eye-opening for me to see it. And I'm excited for you. I think you have a fantastic future. Multi-Faith Neighbors Network generally goes into tough places where there are difficult issues that we're resolving, whether it's Pakistan or Sudan or somewhere else. Azerbaijan does not rise to the level, frankly, of a nation that we would come and work. But at the same time, I believe in what I see here. There's tremendous opportunity. And I think this is a moment in time with Azerbaijan. You're fluent, you're wealthy, you're effective, you're successful. I also think the conflict that you've had with Armenia, this is a moment. The peace agreement, I've been told, is 80% ready. I was excited to see your president and the president of Armenia being very respectful and cordial with one another. My prayer is that whatever agreement you come to, it's one that'll last for more than 30 or 40 years. You know, historically, everyone tells me that Armenians and Azerbaijanis and Georgians, they all intermingle. They've historically gotten along. I want to see that come back. I don't want to see this 30-year cycle backwards, and I want to see it move forward. So I'm optimistic and hopeful that that will happen.
And what are your reflections about Azerbaijan in particular, beyond the conflict with Armenia? On the basis of the experience you had in this country, what are the unique characteristics of this country that you would be happy to reflect on? That's something which struck you, something which you would consider as being integral to your perception of Azerbaijan?
Well, oddly as this sounds, you remind me of my own country in two regards. Number one, you have 500 ethnic groups here. You have all of the faiths here. And Zoroastrianism, I mean, it's all here. And like America, we're in the same category. I would also say, so when I look at the diversity of the peoples and so forth, I think that's going to bode extremely well for you. I think there's a reason why you've been more prosperous than some of the nations that are in the area. I think you've also been wise in your development. I mean, in a lot of ways, when I came to Baku, I was astounded at the architecture, the building, the culture, the things that I experienced here. I think Azerbaijan is a hidden gem the world has yet to discover. And I'm excited about this news program because I think this is an opportunity for Americans to engage and be able to know what is Azerbaijan. I was stunned when we went to your mosque, the National Mosque, and I found out in Azerbaijan, the Sunni and the Shia actually go to the same prayer services. I was told that's only in America. So there are several things I would say that are similar between our countries, and I think it bodes well for your future.
Thank you very much indeed for this opportunity, and I very much hope that in the fullness of time we'll have same opportunities again.
Thank you.
Well, we have had a fantastic and very thought-provoking conversation with Dr. Bob Roberts, and I believe that in a sense our initial thought about all of the three Abrahamic religions being part of the self-same has been somewhat confirmed. Looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Dialogue of Civilizations.